How to make our application have less errors. For example, here we have an ASP.NET Core MVC application, and if I click on this button, we're going to consume a web API in Azure, this web API that we have here. Now, this works and that is fine, but what happens if the web API is unavailable temporarily? For example, if we restart the application, let's see that if we come here, and this is the endpoint of the web API, by the way, you can see that it is still working. It takes some time. Okay, now it's unavailable. So if I click here, you're going to see service unavailable. But if I use this other button, what it's going to do is that it is going to be smart about encountering transient errors. So it is going to keep retrying several times, but not immediately, but it is still going to be retrying, and therefore, eventually, when the error disappears, our application will continue working, and the client wouldn't even know that the web API was down. Alright, so how do we do that? Well, as you can see here, we're using Exponential Backoff. The idea is that sometimes we may encounter transient errors that are going to be solved without us having to do anything. Therefore, the best thing that we can do is to just wait and to keep retrying. But it wouldn't be wise to simply keep retrying repeatedly, because we may have a retry storm. A retry storm is when we have several clients, maybe thousands of clients, retrying the same operation repeatedly, and that can overwhelm the server. Therefore, that is not a good idea, so we have to wait in between retrials. Therefore, what we do is to have some time between retries, but we increase that time. That is, for example, we're going to retry after 1 second, then after 2 seconds, then after 4 seconds, and so on and so forth. Let's see that. By the way, this is something that we can do using a library, but in this video, we're going to learn how to do it manually. In the next video, we can use a library like Poly to configure this, but for now, let's just do it manually. Alright, so here as you can see, we have this endpoint, and in here as you can see, we have that we are using the HTTP client to consume the web API that I have in Azure. If the response is successful, then I return the data, otherwise I return service unavailable, which was the error message that we saw before. And then we have here get data with Exponential Backoff, and here we have that we're configuring 5 maximum retries. So here we have a for loop, then we're going to say we use the HTTP client to make the request. If it is successful, then we just return and not do anything else. If we are here, it means that we got an error from the web API. Now, the question is that error transient? Because if it is not, then it doesn't make sense to keep retrying. For example, if the error that we got from the web API was a 404, not found, then it doesn't make sense to keep retrying because the resource is not going to appear magically. The same happens if we have a 401 unauthorized. We're not going to magically get the credentials needed to consume the web API, so we need to make sure that we have a transient error if we want to retry. So for me, a transient error is one that is a timeout, a 408, too many requests, a 429, or anything that is above or equal to 500. Like for example, a service unavailable. If the error is not transient, then we simply return service unavailable. Otherwise, we compute the delay, and as I mentioned, that delay is going to increase with the number of retries. In this case, we have 2 to the power of retry. For example, 2 to the power of 0 is 1, 2 to the power of 1 is 2, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, etc. And then we say retrying here in the console and await task delay. If in the end we go over these max retries, then we're going to say max retries exceeded, and we're going to return this. Now here in the console, you can see that we have retrying in 1 second, retrying in 2 seconds, retrying in 4 seconds. So as you can see, indeed, we were retrying when we were waiting just a few minutes ago. Now, in our case, the error disappeared by itself, so the user didn't even know that the web API was down. And that makes our application more resilient, because it can overcome by itself strange situations like the one that we encountered before. If you want to learn more about how to use .NET applications in Azure, buy my course today. There is a link with a discount in the description of this video. Thank you.